Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be doing a guide for Holland for EU4 1.31 Leviathan. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe, since only 30% of you are subscribed, and you can become a member today. So Holland is a nation located in the Low Countries region of Europe, and it does start out as a personal union subject of Burgundy, a very powerful nation in 1444, and they also have some other subjects like Brabant, Flanders, and Nevers. So we are gonna have to fight all of these guys to get independence from Burgundy. Unless, of course, they just release us, which does happen sometimes, and I'll explain how. So the first thing we want to do is go into our estates and summon the diet. You can pick whichever agenda is best for you. Next, we're gonna give the clergy religious state. We're gonna give the nobility primacy of the nobility and increased levies. Then we're gonna activate the encourage development state edict in Holland and Dev Hog once in production. Then we're gonna give the burghers land of commerce, patronage of the arts, and indebted to the burghers. We're gonna give out other privileges later. We're also gonna get a Diplo rep or improve relations guy if you have him. I do have a level 2 improve relations guy, and I am still gonna get him, but I'm gonna fire him once we get nations to support our independence. Now we're gonna destroy this cavalry regiment and hire 6 more infantry regiments. Our force limit is 7 right now, but once we declare the independence war, it will go up to 10. And we're gonna get these ships together and put them right here in the coast of Holland. Now it's time to ask for someone to support our independence. Usually it will be Burgundy's rivals, such as England and France. In my case, it's actually even Aragon, but 90% of the time it's both England and France and someone else too. So I am gonna ask Aragon to support my independence, and I'm gonna start improving relations with France so I can get them as well. And now that this diplomat is back, I'm also gonna start improving with England. Now it's time to wait to get someone else aside from Aragon. In your case, you've probably gotten England to support you right off the bat, and right now you're improving with France. And there we go, I can already get France to support me. It's only been 1 month. And now I can get England to support me as well. And in your case, you have England and France, and you might have another nation which is Burgundy's rival, such as Aragon, Savoy, Austria, or Denmark. One of those nations aside from England and France. Like I said, you get England and France 95% of the time. And now that we have 10 army regiments, we are gonna hire a general and put them over here in Amsterdam, and we're also gonna ask military access in Friesland, which actually happens to be Burgundy's ally. That's probably not gonna happen in your case, but let me explain why. Once we declare the war with Burgundy and their subjects are probably gonna go straight for us and try to occupy our lands. That means we're gonna get stuck here and get stack wiped. So what you wanna do is put your army in Amsterdam, and as soon as you declare the war, run away through Friesland, somewhere around here, and you can pop out in the south of France. You are gonna have to ask for military access through a lot of nations. Unless of course you have Austria on your side, in which case you will get automatic military access since they're the emperor. But in my case, since I can't actually cross through Friesland because they're allied to Burgundy, I'm gonna ask Utrecht, Gelre, and nations like that to go through them. And there we go, I've asked a bunch of nations for military access. Right here I can get all the way to Cologne, and it's time to declare our war against Burgundy. If you got released, which can happen if a lot of nations support your independence and Burgundy feel weak, then you're in a great position, and I'll explain what you do once you're free after my war. But most likely you will be declaring an independence war. You do want to act quick, since you don't want France and England to start fighting each other before they can help you out. So now we're going to be declaring on Burgundy, of course with the independence CB. Very rarely Burgundy can ally France or Austria. In that case, I recommend restarting. It's only been a few months. And there we go, we declared that war. We will be stabbing up, and now we'll be giving out Clerical Advisory Council. I gave this one by mistake, oops. Aristocratic Councilors, and Commercial Advisory Board. And it's time to run away from here and let England and France do all the work. And there we go, I've managed to walk through all of these nations down here. I went something like this, and I've managed to pop out in the south of France. Now we don't have to worry about getting stack wiped, and we can join one of our allies' armies in sieging down Burgundy. Now we can also hire some other advisors, such as a morale or a discipline guy, or even a fort defense guy, and whichever level 1 guy you have. It would be a good idea to get a stab cost guy before you stab up, but I didn't have one, only this level 2 guy. And once you've defeated Burgundy fairly easily with the help of England and France, it is time to piece them out. Now during this point, you can take one province from Flanders or Brabant, and I do recommend Antwerp or something like that. Basically either of these border provinces, if you've occupied them of course. In my case, I haven't even occupied them, they're being held by England. But it will be a lot of aggressive expansion, and it will slow down your early game conquests by quite a bit, since you don't have claims on them, you didn't declare a conquest war, blah blah blah. So of course in the peace deal we're gonna demand independence, But we're also going to demand for Burgundy to release Brabant and Flanders, and we're going to get war reps. France and England will be mad if you don't give them anything, but it's not a big deal. We don't even need them as allies after this point. We're in the HRE, we're safe, and by the time we get strong enough to fight them, well, we're going to be breaking our alliance with them anyway. And that's our war done. Flanders isn't a subject anymore, neither is Brabant, and we can get ready to fight them. So at this point we are gonna set some rivals. I recommend rivaling your neighbors, such as Friesland for example, Flanders since they're not in the HRE, and Utrecht or Brabant. I'm gonna rival Utrecht. Now it's time to chill and start building spy networks on everyone around us. At this point we can sell titles and seize land. And as we can see, France already wants to break our alliance, that's fine. Now we're gonna start building some more light ships. And right now I'm spying on Utrecht and Gelre, the nations which I don't have a truce with. At this point in your case, England and France might have also broken their alliance with you, like in my case. So it's time to find some other allies. Get someone up here that can help you out in wars, such as Munster for example. I'm gonna ally them, and you can even start improving with Austria in the hopes of allying them. And once you've gotten some spy networks going on these nations right here, it is time to declare on them. In my case, I'm gonna be declaring on Utrecht right here. First, I am gonna hire an admiral, though you do want an admiral, and I'm gonna put my ships here. In your case, you may be declaring on Utrecht as well, or Gelre or Friesland, depending on which of these nations is the easiest to fight. And once you've defeated whichever nation you're fighting, here's what we're gonna do. If you're fighting Friesland, you are gonna vassalize them. They have two very valuable provinces, and it's gonna be a lot of AE to just take them from them. If you're fighting Gelre, you should only take the province of Gelre and money and war reps, and that's it. But if you're fighting Utrecht, you are going to be full annexing them and taking all their money. Those are the only three nations that you could be fighting after your independence war. And that's done. Of course, we're in the HRE, aggressive expansion is pretty high, so we're going to be chilling for a bit now, and deving up our nation, helping the Renaissance along to spawn, and maybe even build some buildings. Of course, during this point, you should set your light ships to protect trade in the English Channel. Of course, once we're independent and we have 4 cores, you might have done this immediately after the Burgundy War. If you took a province from Brabant or Flanders, you will be able to unlock the mission Assert Our Sovereignty. And you might also be able to complete the mission Challenge Spanish Power, if you have half as many ships as Castile does. For your tier 2 government reform, I recommend taking Strength and Noble Privileges. And during this point, I am able to ally Austria after much improving relations and after royal marrying them. Of course, if you can, you should. They're the emperor. Come on, dude. This will make it much easier for us in coalitions and stuff like that. Nations won't hate us that much, and most importantly, they won't be asking for unlawful territory back. Of course, during this time, you should also be improving relations with outraged countries. Once aggressive expansion is below 20 with most nations, we'll be declaring our next war, which is gonna be once again versus Utrecht, Gelre, or Friesland, while waiting for our truces with Brabant and Flanders to run out. And when the Burgundian succession happens, the best thing that can happen is actually Burgundy remaining independent. In my case, they chose to become a junior partner under Austria, which for me does complicate things quite a bit, since we don't want to be fighting Austria, we actually want to be fighting England, France, and Burgundy. So that means our expansion will stop pretty much right here until we form the Netherlands and get out of the HRE. Not a massive problem, but it is more annoying to fight Austria rather than Burgundy or France. For your first idea group, as Holland and later the Netherlands, I recommend opening up with quantity ideas. This will help us field an even more massive army, and all the policies that we're gonna get with other idea groups later are awesome as well. At this point, we are gonna start focusing on Mel. By the way, I'm not doing anything, just helping out Austria get their PU over Hungary apparently. And now that I'm out of that Austrian war, I will be declaring my next war, which is gonna be against Friesland, the next weakest nation that I can attack. At this point, you're either fighting Friesland as well, or Utrecht or Gelre. And like I said, once we've defeated Friesland, we will be making them our subject. It is less aggressive expansion, so only 25, rather than taking the provinces from them, which is a 34, and it'll help us fight other wars quicker. Now it's time to chill a bit once again before declaring on Gelre, or in your case Utrecht or Friesland, depending on in which order you're fighting these wars, but this third war will probably be against one of Burgundy's former subjects, Flanders or Brabant. In my case, Flanders have entered the HRE even though they're not in it in 1444, and they've also allied France. So looks like my next war is gonna be with Brabant. Once some more time has passed, it is time for the next war versus whichever of the 3 easiest nations to fight are left, along with Brabant and and Flanders. In my case, Flanders does have France as an ally. Brabant and Gilray are at a war with each other, so I am actually gonna be declaring on East Frisia up here. A nation you don't have to focus on early on, but it is nice to take them out since they're not in the HRE either. And of course, if you are fighting East Frisia as well, you will be full annexing them. They're not in the HRE. And once again, it's time to declare on another nation when aggressive expansion is down. In my case, I am going to be fighting Brabant, and the provinces we actually need to form the Netherlands are Breda, Utrecht, Gilray, Den Haag, and Amsterdam. We already start off with Den Haag and Amsterdam. We will get Utrecht from Utrecht, in my case I already have it, Gilray is right here, and Breda is right here. Those are the provinces you need, and they're in the nations that you will be fighting the soonest. I'll be declaring on Brabant now. And if you're fighting Brabant, you are going to want to take the province of Breda, of course, which is the most important for forming the Netherlands, but we're still way off from Admin Tech 10, so it isn't actually the most important for us. The most important one is Antwerp, since it is a level 2 center of trade. Of course, it will go down to a level 1 if we take it, but it also is very highly developed and it produces glass. So you could take Antwerp, or you could take something like Breda and Hertogenbosch together and then take Antwerp later. In my case, I'm gonna take Antwerp now and take these two later. I'm also gonna take all their money and humiliate them and get some war reps. For your first stage ability as Holland, you should of course take Justified Wars. In peacetime, because, well, there will be a lot of peacetime since aggressive expansion is so high in this region. Like I said earlier, very highly developed provinces, and we're in the HRE. So, during peace, you should focus on building ships to protect trade, lowering army maintenance, focusing on building up your economy. You will have extra points to spare at this point, so you will be deving up some provinces too, building buildings, and the usual. For your tier 3 government reform, you should take centralized bureaucracy. We won't be expanding a lot outside of our culture group, to be honest, and when we do become an emperor, we become an emperor of Germanic culture. Once again, all of these would become automatically accepted. Really, if we're playing tall-ish, and the Netherlands is, by the way, one of the best nations for playing tall, you're not going to be promoting that many cultures. Pretty much you're going to promote Walloon, Norman, English, and maybe some other ones. We're gonna get the cultural slots for those anyway, so we do want to maximize the monthly autonomy change. And during this part of the game, where we're going to be spending mainly mill points on tech and ideas, and mainly admin points on tech, ideas, and coring, we're going to be left with a lot of spare diplo points, which we're all going to be using them on dev. Of course, the cloth provinces are super cheap to dev, and look, this one is at 8, this one's at 11, 7, 10, 9, so of course I'm going to be deving up here. Yes, I know I can activate the Encourage Development State Edict. It's fine. And there we go. We've devved these up so much, we can't even dev them in diplo anymore. We need to increase them in mill and admin as well. And we still have so much spare diplo points, and we're 5 years ahead of tech. And when some more time has passed, and aggressive expansion is down a bit, we are going to be declaring our next war, still against the same nations we've been fighting all along. And right now, I'm going to be declaring on Gilray. I'm going to call in Hamburg and Munster, why not? And once again, I'm deving with dip. For your second idea group, I recommend taking economic ideas. This will help us out massively in building buildings, lowering autonomy, the dev cost bonus is excellent as well, and we have some other nice policies with other idea groups we're going to be taking later. The production efficiency is excellent, inflation reduction, there's not a single bad thing about economic ideas. Even if you are going colonial, I still don't recommend taking exploration or expansion for your first or second idea groups. We'll talk about that later though. Of course, at this point you will want to start focusing on admin as well. Once you do have 20 light ships, you will be able to fulfill this mission right here. It gives us some nice light ship stuff. For your naval doctrine, I actually do recommend selecting Merchant Navy as Holland and the Netherlands. If you don't like it, you can swap out later when fighting other nations or stuff like that, but I do recommend Merchant Navy. And when fighting Gilray, you will of course take the province of Gilray from them. Leave this one for later, no need to vassalize them or stuff like that. Along with all their money, humiliation, why not, war reps, sure. Funny when you get an event for a 100 tradition general, and he's actually 1 pip worse than the general you recruited by yourself. This is the 100 tradition guy. This is the guy I recruited myself. Oh well, I guess the prestige and legitimacy aren't always worth it. Of course, once you have above 190 relations with your subject Friesland, and you should have them as a vassal by now, you will start annexing them. And because this is a slower type of game, we're conquering high def provinces, we're in the HRE, by around the 1500s, your game should look a little something like this. Basically, we've broken free from Burgundy, we've conquered about half of the lowlands region, and we have a very solid control over the English Channel trade node. By this point, you should have around 8 to 12 provinces under your name, depending on your playstyle, if you play slower or if you play faster. By this point, we're making a ton of money. As we can see, I'm making 8.5 ducats right now. If I increase army maintenance, it's 6.5, and if I raise my forts, it's 5 ducats. So it's still a very nice income. Get our professionalism up from drilling, and you should have around 20 light ships protecting trade in the English Channel, just like me. By this point, we also have 3 merchants. One is transferring from Lubeck to the English Channel, the other one from Champagne, and the last guy from the North Sea. And we will be increasing our control over the English Channel massively, because we will be building even more buildings, upgrading centers of trade, developing the provinces, getting more light ships to protect trade, and so on. As you can see, I've already built a bunch of marketplaces, and Gelre has built one in their province. Of course, I already have mine in the center of trade and estuary provinces. You will be building workshops in almost all of your provinces, since they all make high value trade goods. We have lots of cloth provinces, salt right here, very nice, glass, very nice, iron down here, we're gonna be getting that, paper in Hertogenbosch. You can build army buildings in the cow provinces, and in all of them, to be honest, they're all gonna be very high dev. Later, you're gonna be building workshops. You already know about buildings. Now, like I said earlier, the way I like to play Holland and the Netherlands is sort of a tall-ish game where I conquer the lowlands region and the English Channel trade node as well. So we're not gonna be huge in Europe. Of course, we are gonna be very big, but nothing blob-ish. That's how I like to play. Of course, you can do your own style, and we'll be focusing on deving these provinces, building nice buildings in them, and later even going colonial if you want to. I do recommend going colonial as the Netherlands, and especially focusing on Southeast Asian trade particularly. But around this point, we have a very nice force limit. We're not up to combat with just yet, but we will be getting there very soon, since all the provinces we're conquering are high dev. We're getting nice generals. We got light ship combat ability from our missions, and our missions as Holland are decent, to be honest. The Dutch missions, they're not super powerful or anything, but they're very fun and very flavorful. Once we unlock the bulk trades mission, where we have 33% or more trade power in the Lubeck trade node, we get an explorer. And after we unlock this mission, we can continue down the colonization branch, where all of these missions down here focus on us colonizing, whereas these top missions up here focus more on trade and on European matters. Basically, none of our European missions really give us claims or focus on conquest or stuff like that, so you are sort of meant to play tallish as Holland. Of course, Dutch ideas focus on trade mostly and stuff like that, so we will be leaning into that factor when playing as Holland and later the Netherlands. We do get more missions as the Netherlands, of course, and we get the unique government type that they have. We're a republic, but we can make royal marriages. We also have the Orangist versus Statists mechanic. And for your later idea groups, I do recommend taking exploration and expansion for your 3rd and 4th idea groups. After that, you should take quality and trade. Quality to help us buff up our army and navy as well. We will want a very powerful navy as the Netherlands. And the final 2 are your choice. Of course, you will be getting all the nice policies like the dev cost one right here, the goods produced one with quantity and trade, and everything else that comes along with it. For your next government reforms, for tier 4 you should take meritocratic recruitment, for tier 5 you should take royal decree, for tier 6 you should take l'état c'est moi, and for tier 7 you should take political absolutism. Of course, these will differ when you form the Netherlands, but that's a whole different guide, and by that point my game is gonna differ too much from yours for me to be able to make a relevant guide for you guys. So that's why, well, all of these guides focus on the first couple of decades, where mine and your game will look quite similar. And after this point, we're just gonna continue to expand in the same direction, albeit slowly, and when we form the Netherlands, we are gonna be out of the HRE. So every time you're gonna want to fight a nation in the HRE, you're gonna have to fight Austria. In my case, they are really powerful. They do have Hungary, Burgundy, Württemberg for some reason. They might even get Bohemia pretty soon. So that's a strong Austria in my game. And if they look like this in yours, you're gonna have to fight them all the time. So you can actually stay as Holland and purposely not form the Netherlands until you get all the stuff from the HRE nations nations that you want, and then you can form the Netherlands, where you automatically leave, and you might not even focus on the HRE after all. In my case, for example, I am going to be fighting all of these nations right here that are in the HRE and not forming the Netherlands, so I'm going to be taking out Brabant right here, Gelre, Flanders, and Liège. I'm going to finish those nations off, and even if I can form the Netherlands before that, I won't, and I'll only form it after I've taken those provinces, since I don't want to fight Austria 20 times. And like I said, you can focus on the lowlands, the English Channel trade node, the Lubeck trade node, depends on what your goals are for this campaign, but you will continue to fight the same nations that are right here in my case, or maybe you fought them in a different order, so you have some other ones left, like Friesland or East Frisia or something like that. Holland does have a unique-ish achievement, this one on screen right now, which I'm not gonna attempt to pronounce, where you need to form the Netherlands as a minor nation starting with Dutch culture. Of course, you will get that anyway when you form the Netherlands. And the Netherlands also have a unique achievement of theirs, Sinsapel, where you need to get the Orangists in power with 100% Republican tradition while owning a province in China. And you'll figure out how the factions work once you form the Netherlands. Of course, if you have played a nation with factions before, it'll be easy for you, such as England or Venice, for example. If you're not that confident in your abilities, or if you're not sure if your game is gonna go like mine, this save file is available for all YouTube members in the Save Games Discord channel, and you can continue playing as Holland from $14.99. And if you want to see me continue this campaign, you can watch me live on twitch.tv/TheRedHawkLive. Let me know in the comments below what's the next nation that I should do a guide on. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe, since only 30% of you are subscribed, and you can become a member today. And join the Discord, the link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.